Thanks for joining us.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast. You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today, we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, on the air since 1981.
And we're back. I think it's been a while since we last had Ken Frydman. He is really a powerhouse in New York politics, and he's worked for Rudy Giuliani, and he's worked with lots of other interesting clients. He's the CEO of Source Communications, a Manhattan strategic communications company, and he wrote a fascinating article in the Daily News about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his anti-Semitism. In fact, it's called Ashkenazi Jew at RFK Jr.'s infamous dinner. Welcome back to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Zev. Nice seeing you.
Likewise, it's
Thank you.
been a while, but I know you're doing great. You have some interesting clients. And in fact, you have a relationship with Robert F. K. Jr., don't you?
I do. I mean, we go back. I was donated to the Riverkeeper, which is his charity that protects the Hudson River, and I watched him fly falcons up at George Pataki's house, and he came to visit me in my office in 1998 when he was thinking of running for Senate, and New York Magazine was planning a cover story on him, and he was concerned that they were going to re-report that he had been arrested for marijuana possession and heroin possession, and you know, they did. It's part of his resume. So, as I said in my piece, the story ran, but he didn't after that. And I followed his career, and I was an admirer of his father, as you probably were, and of the family. And he's dishonored them, though, unfortunately. You know, I had hoped that he would help bring the Democratic Party to the center, but I'm not hopeful anymore of that.
Well, let's go to that dinner, because you were at a dinner with other journalists, and that's the infamous dinner where he spoke about COVID-19 was an ethically targeted bioweapon, and he said it was made by the Chinese government to be deadly for Caucasians and blacks. The only people spared? Ashkenazi Jews, such as yourself and myself.
We're the chosen ones. We're the chosen ones.
I don't know how you can come up with something like everybody is going to be hurt, but except Ashkenazi. Not even Sephardic Jews are going to be spared. Only Ashkenazi Jews.
They got nothing to worry about.
So what happened? Give us a scenario. You're watching this.
European Jews. Huh?
Yeah.
Why did he pick on us? I don't know why he picked on us. I don't know what goes on in that guy's head. It's a scary place. I don't want to spend any time there. But, you know, he cites unnamed research that supports his assertion that, as you said, that COVID-19 was designed as a bioweapon, by the Chinese to spare the Chinese naturally, because why would they want to infect their own people? And we'll throw in the Ashkenazi Jews too. Why not? And we'll only target the blacks and Caucasians. But the last time I checked, Zev, and you can confirm this, we're Ashkenazi Jews are considered Caucasian, are we
not? Right. Yeah, so we are. But it's something. When you speak to some of the radicals, they say not only are Jews Caucasians, we're part of white privilege. I even had a professor, a Jewish one, who said Jews are part of white privilege.
Of course we are. We own all the banks, all the media, right? We're the chosen ones, baby. We can take care of ourselves.
If it wasn't so serious, it would be laughable. So
sure.
Here you are. You were 25 journalists. You're at this dinner. So what goes through your mind when he comes up with this convoluted cuckoo idea about COVID is designed to protect the Jews and the Chinese? Everybody else is unaffected by it.
Well, I if you watch the video, which is viral, guy sitting next to him is John Levine from the Post, and he is also an Ashkenazi Jew, and you can see him wince and look of bafflement come on his face. And as I say in my piece, call me paranoid, but RFK Jr. was looking straight at me when he made that comment, and I tried not to betray my shock at the comment. And at that point, I leaned over and I asked his communications director if she believed in his policy positions, all his policy positions, including that one. And she meekly nodded yes, but not enthusiastically. So, I think he's at odds with his own campaign. We see he's at odds with his family. He's at odds with his wife. So, I'm not the only one. And neither are the reporters at the Post.
Now you say you said that the RFK Jr. came to your office over a decade ago because of the story he was on marijuana and his conviction. Yeah. It sounds like he's still on the same substance when he was at that dinner with you. I don't know what he was smoking.
Well, I'll tell you, somebody suggested that it's steroids, because if you saw a viral video of him on CNN doing push-ups, did you?
I didn't see that one though.
Well, unfortunately, you still can, but he's shirtless, he's wearing pants and shoes, and he's doing push-ups, and he's powerfully built for a 69-year-old guy who doesn't take steroids. I'm not saying he takes steroids, but he has sort of exhibited those kind of characteristics of personality, but it's just a guessing game. We don't know what makes him tick. I thought he might be a Kennedy contrarian who was just gratuitously trying to, disagree with his family and carve out his own, right of center path, and use the Kennedy name as a springboard. But I was wrong. After that dinner, I'm convinced more than ever that he's just a conspiracist.
Now, but he has conspiracy theories about COVID, even before this dinner, right?
Right.
He was known for being into these conspiracy theories.
Nothing new, but I wanted to hear it and see it for myself, and I did.
Does this finish? Does this your political strategist? You've been involved in lots of campaigns. Did this finish him off?
In an ideal world, it should, but he was polling it 14 to 20% in the last polls. They haven't polled since his dinner. I'm curious to see what the numbers are. Listen, Jews vote in high numbers in Democratic primaries. The Chinese bloc is important also. So if he was pandering to right of center or conservative Jews, then he might pick up support there and some money.
Support. You write in your article that he was pandering to Mort Klein, but Mort Klein, as opposed to what he said. Forgive me. How does that pander to Orthodox Jews or conservative Jews with that kind of theory?
It doesn't. I think he miscalculated that. That Mort Klein would say, "Hey, that's good. Let's keep up the good work." And he didn't count on that kind of reaction. I think if it was calculated, he knew he was going to turn off the Ashkenazis, right? But I didn't think I don't think he thought that he would turn off the conservative wing of the religion at the same time. But apparently he did. Now, he may pick up support elsewhere. Maybe the blacks and Caucasians, appreciate the fact that he says that they were targeted. So maybe he gets a sympathy vote from those voters. I don't know. But again, his numbers should drop now, and if he wasn't a Kennedy, this would have been enough, I think, to knock him out of the race. But there's that sense of Kennedy entitlement and an ego and legacy that I don't think would allow him to admit defeat at this point. But if he kept his mouth shut, he might have gotten up 30% of the primary vote and set himself up for another race, or maybe, dare I say, a presidential run in 4 years. But every time he opens his mouth, he turns off more people than he turns on.
As far as I know, has he tried to explain his statement at all?
Yeah, he doubled back. He said, "No, I didn't say that it excludes or omits or spares the Orthodox and the Ashkenazis and the Chinese." But he pointed to some unnamed studies that support his assertions, but he didn't specify which studies those are. Didn't mention an NIH study, but that doesn't support it either. It's designed, normally I'd say it's designed for attention, that the candidate with no name recognition needs to get some exposure, but that's the last thing he needs is bad press. And the
Doesn't
last
he
thing
real-
we need, we
Is
as
it
a
a-
society, is more anti-Semitism and
Right.
more anti-Asian hatred.
No, and certainly he's covering all bases as
Yeah,
far as that's concerned. You know, he's in New York. Figure might as well get everybody that's ethnically challenged.
Triple
So
thanks,
you're
guys.
not. He knows you, and
Yeah.
Ken Friedman is our guest. So Robert F.K. Jr. is looking you straight in the eye when he talks about the Ashkenazi Jews are being spared from
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
Just so he recognized you. Was he? You think he was trying to send you a message specifically?
I don't want to theorize about that, and I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. I just know that at that moment we locked eyes, and
Did anybody challenge him at the dinner
no,
and say?
no, there was no.
I'm surprised no Ashkenazi Jew got up and said, "Hey, what kind of drivel is this?"
No, I waited till the next day. No, I mean, no, we didn't, because I wanted to hear his positions on as many issues, domestic and foreign issues, as we all did, as possible. So
After I heard that statement, Ken, frankly, I wouldn't want to hear anything he had to say.
You're right, but it dissolved after that into there was a screaming match about climate change, and it ended soon thereafter, frankly. And I'm sure people did voice their displeasure to him. He claimed it was off the record. It was clearly on the record. I was invited to cover it, as were other journalists, and it was videoed, and he knew he was being videotaped. So that was the first, or the second lie. First big lie was the COVID conspiracy theory, and then saying it was off the record was clearly untrue. So that's a campaign in chaos. Clearly.
No, obviously, and he sounds like he's in chaos also.
Yeah.
So he's not playing with a full deck, because if you're running for office and you come to New York, which is the largest Jewish population in the United States, and make those kind of, also a very large Chinese population in New York, and you come to the center and you say these crazy, outrageous things, so you have to be off your beanie, especially if he's looking to get votes.
You do. Even you shouldn't need to be prepped. As I said in my piece, he should have been prepped to know the probability of there being at least one Ashkenazi Jew and one Asian journalist at the table, and there was more than that.
Well, he looked you in the eye, so he knew what he was doing. He recognized you, right? I'm sure he did.
I shook his hand in the beginning and reintroduced myself, and we nodded, and it was quick because there were 25 people who wanted to shake hands with him in the beginning before he opened his mouth. So,
did you have an urge to punch him when he said that?
I think like John Levine, you look at their faces, and we were stunned and shocked, and then you go through those phases, right, where you're disbelief and then anger, and so it doesn't all happen at once. It's a gradual process. But you would have reacted immediately.
I probably would have said something. I would say, "Hey, you want some COVID? I'll give you some."
Well, I said everybody in my family got it, and they're all Ashkenazis, and you should know that I'm light-skinned and fair-haired and from Europe, so I'm an Ashkenazi. But it shows me ignorance, dangerous ignorance. Okay.
But something I'm thinking about, the fact that he picked Ashkenazi, there's a whole bunch of racist, anti-Semitic theories about the Khazars and Ashkenazi Jews.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably feeding into that, because otherwise he would say the Jews. Why he picked just Ashkenazi Jews, which feeds probably into a greater conspiracy theories. That's just my thought.
That's a good point. Yeah, no. To distinguish us from the Sephardic, and
because if you ask most anti-Semites, they couldn't tell you.
You're right. A Jew is a Jew, right? You froze. Jesus. Zev? 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 Zev?